In today's video, I'm going to speak about 10 things that will make you a better sports science graduate. Firstly, your grades, really obvious one. And I'd aim for a T1. It's really, really key that you get 60% and above because most jobs, most master's courses will want this T1. However, I would recommend that if you have something in mind, go on Google, take a look at it, and just make sure you know what grade you're going to need for that job or that master's course. Secondly, you'll need additional qualifications on top of your degree. And you need to know which ones you need. Some you need, some you don't. So I'd look at job adverts. Even if you don't graduate for a couple of years, take a look now and work out what else do you need to do on top of the degree to be employable. Some courses are more expensive than others, so I'd work out a budget. Do you need to save for a year, 2 years in order to get this very important qualification? So definitely spend time now, go on Google, take a look at the courses that you need in order to give yourself the best chance of getting a career that you want. Next, you'll need experience. And the reality is, your degree is pretty useless if you can't apply it. You can learn as much as you want in class, but if you can't transfer that into a working environment, it's very, very challenging. So you need to get work experience because this is a chance for you to make mistakes during your degree. Go on these placements, make loads of errors, get things wrong, but learn from the process and come out stronger when you graduate. So what I'd do is I'd look at local companies, local teams, whatever you're interested in your hometown, wherever you're based for university, take a look and see what's out there. Make an extensive list of what's available, network, and make things happen. This one's really, really key. You need resilience because in sports science, you're very likely to get rejected, whether that be to get on the course in the first place, whether that be for an internship, a job, a PhD, whatever it is. Each job is very, very competitive. It's very, very hard to find a career in sports science. So resilience is really, really important because everyone copes differently with rejection. And more worrying is the multiple rejection that you may face. So I would look at building resilience. I would go on Google and there's plenty of really good blogs from sports science students and other courses which are still very relevant about how they've come to terms with rejection, how they learned from it, and the processes they've gone through to come out stronger on the other side. You also need initiative as well. In the early stages of a degree, the lecturer might be doing quite a lot for you, but as time goes on, you can't just rely on lecturers, you can't just rely on other people. You need to be doing stuff for yourself. You need to work out problems in your own time and find ways to develop. So the advice you're given by lecturers, follow it and do that a little bit extra as well, which shows you've got initiative and you're doing stuff on your own terms. Plenty of blogs again, plenty of self-help PDFs on Google about how to use your initiative in the workplace and also as a student. Another point which is worth mentioning is being coachable. If you're not going to listen to advice, then what's the point in taking it on board from a lecturer or a mentor? You need to seek feedback. That's quite scary sometimes to get feedback, to be told you're maybe not very good at something. You need to be professional and mature in taking that criticism. The criticism from lecturers is not to put you down, it's to improve you, to push you, to challenge you. So, as well as that feedback you get from others, have an internal one as well, where you reflect on your own performance. What do you think you can improve on, and how can you develop? And I really would look at this. There's some really good stuff again online, some good blogs, self-help, how to be coachable. Another one is confidence. So remember why you're doing the course. You're not there to make up the numbers. You're there for a very, very good reason. And you need to believe in yourself. Now, this is very difficult. You can't just grab hold of someone and say, believe in yourself. I get that. I'm not that ignorant. But the reality is, if you go into interviews and you don't have that confidence, you don't believe in yourself and what you can do, well, the panel won't believe that either. So this is something you need to be aware of. I'm not saying it's something that changes overnight and you're going to improve straight away. But I would look at stuff like imposter syndrome, realize that this is very, very common, and try and take some little hints and tips from previous blogs, stories from other people that have suffered on how their confidence has improved through time. Moving on, you need to sell yourself as well. I've mentioned already how competitive sports science is. So when you get to interviews, it might be very uncomfortable. It involves coming across as very confident in yourself and your ability. This takes time. if you're not naturally good at this, it will take a while to get accustomed to it. So I would watch videos, I would take courses in the art of selling yourself. And if you go on Google, there are plenty of books, there are YouTube videos, blogs, PDFs. There's so much information out there on being able to sell. So I really recommend you look at this because you're going to have to do it when you graduate. You also need good interpersonal skills, the ability in different environments to adapt with different people in the hierarchy of where you work. So you've got to get over that first hurdle of an interview. You have to sell yourself well, like I've already said, but also the way you speak to people, the way you get your message across is really important. Once you're in the job, you can certainly be taken out of the job, partly by your communication skills if they're really poor. So I would recommend that you take courses on interpersonal skills, emotional intelligence. During my masters, we spent a lot of time working on this, and it was a huge year for me. Maybe realizing in certain ways where I was going wrong with my communicational skills. Again, there's plenty of courses, free courses, and just blogs and just information to read on Google about emotional intelligence, interpersonal skills. Really, really useful. Highly recommend you look at it. Lastly, manners. It's really simple, but a lot of people can trip up on this one. So be polite to your lecturers. You don't have to get on with every single lecturer, but be polite, be humble. If you come across as a bit of an arsehole, it's not going to put you in a good position for the future. And the same when you're going for a placement, when you're sending out emails, when you're going for interviews for a placement, when you're on placement. How do you behave around that person? Because these people can dictate your future. If I was impolite to my lecturers, that could have made it a bit more difficult for me in the future for some of the endeavors I went on afterwards. Same for the placement providers. If I was a bit rude on those placements, maybe I wouldn't have been given the opportunity to go somewhere else on their recommendation. So manners is really, really key. Plenty of stuff out there. It's quite simplistic just to say, how can I be better mannered? But I did find a really good piece there on Google, 50 tips for good manners. And there's a long list of stuff that it's not just the obvious please and thank yous. There's some small areas where you think, oh yeah, maybe actually that's something I've been doing wrong for the past couple of years. So just to summarize, what I'd say is don't be a maybe person. If opportunities come your way, you've got to go for it. If you don't, someone else will. Don't graduate with regrets. I'll often speak to people that finish the course and they'll say, I should have done this, should have done that. Don't have any regrets. When you see an opportunity, like I've said, you have to go for it. Be honest about your weaknesses. That can be quite hard to approach, but be very honest about that and also speak to other people about them and work on them. And if you do have a passion at this stage of your life, be obsessed with it because a lot of other people probably want what you want as well. So you've got to push those people out of the way. Your standards have to be higher than them in order for you to get past them and get the career that you want.